Welcome to RPG Book Club, the podcast where we play a little bit of a video game and talk about how it makes us feel. I'm Sam.
And I'm Trish.
And today we are finishing our playthrough of Legend of Legaia, actually beating the game this time. It's not a fake out. The credits roll and you can't do anything besides go to the title screen. It's not fake. It's real. It's over.
It's really real. It's truly, truly real.
But before we get into all of that, how was your week, Trish?
Interesting. So one of the downsides of it getting cold, so it's gotten cold enough to snow, which is neat. Being from the West Coast, I'm not used to where I live being a place that gets snow. So it's always a little, this is the second year in a row, it's like, oh, this is a fun little treat. But it also gets cold enough, especially in my room, because whoever built this house, I don't think didn't expect anyone to live in this room. The insulation isn't great. So it gets fucking cold. And that means I don't want to be here at my desk. It's so much easier to stay in bed all day. But if I stay in bed all day, that has a 30% chance to activate my depression spiral of just I can't do anything, I have no spoons, I'm a worthless little creature. And that's happened a couple times in the last week, and that sucks. But otherwise, things have been fairly good. There was the other day, so my wife is getting into minis. She wants to paint minis, but she also wants to make minis. She's making her own, molding them with putty and stuff. I don't know anything about crafts. I can't describe to you what she's doing. I just know that she's making Catalepsis and Symphogear minis, or what she wants to make, and I think that sounds really cool. And so the other day, she needed a couple things, so we went to a craft store, or a hobby shop. We went to a local hobby shop, which was really neat, because it was all these dudes working there and frequenting the place were all clearly men at least in their 50s, probably closer to 60 plus, who just live and breathe model trains and cars and boats and whatever the hell. And so her going around asking for help and asking for trying to get advice on what's the best thing for this or this, they had so much to info dump to her about. I
love it.
It was delightful.
I love all of the autistics that aren't autistic, because back in my day we didn't have autistic. I love interacting them with when I hit upon their hyper focuses, because now that I'm from the future and I know what's going on, I'm oh my god, you found a way to survive, and that way was model cars. I love you. You're so cute.
Yeah, agreed. Not as fun, but and one of those things where you have something that isn't fun, but getting over it is a healing thing. I hit a point earlier this week where I realized, so I've been playing a lot of TTRPGs since I came out and started being Trish back in 2020. It was one of my ways of being social during pandemic, and when I didn't have a lot of people to be around in real life. And I, as my sister just said in the chat, I trished out. I hit a point where it was happening consistently, and it started to happen on the game my sister, who's in the audience right now, runs on Mondays, that I play in, where the session was coming, and I only felt dread and stress, and this is an obligation I have to go do. I might have to just say I can't, because and realizing I've done that multiple times, where I just feel like I'm just not mentally able to do it. And it's the same thing with the games I run. A lot of the time, I don't feel any excitement. I don't feel any eagerness. And during session, I can pick up those feelings, and I can get through with that. But in the approach, it's just awful. And I realized that, and I talked about that with my sister and with a couple other people who are close to me, and realized I'm really burnt out. It turns out maybe running 2 games a week and being in other games for years it might have burned out my love of TTRPGs a little bit, so I need to take a little break. I'm not completely taking a break. I'm still in one game and playing in another game, but I'm having to step away from a couple other games, and that's really hard, and I don't like doing it, because every time I disappoint anyone and have to tell someone I can't do the thing I promised I was going to do, I feel like I'm going to shrivel up and die. But I needed to do it, and I'm glad I did it, because now I have a lot less stress.
Yeah, I'm love that for you. That's how I was with the podcast. How it's like all I have are really big ideas for the podcast, but if I do a
Mm-hmm.
big idea, that then becomes homework every week.
Mm-hmm.
And doing more than one real episode every week had gotten real hard. This podcast is still my third place, so I definitely still come here and hang out every week, and I didn't want it to go away. But there just was the I'm gonna have to just not do these things, and so I have a couple of I talked about this all before, so like I have a couple of things that like are pending from people commissioned episodes and stuff, but after that
Yeah.
it's all just going to be a when I feel like doing something special for the fans, I'm going to do something special for the fans, and I'm not going to sign up for anything gigantically large.
Mm-hmm. And hey, if we ever want to do something smaller and like an easy small bite of a thing that's just like a, me and you sharing an interest in wanting to talk about X thing, we can do that. We're allowed.
Yeah, and who knows? We might do that in 3 to 4 weeks, depending on how fast we read.
Yeah,
Who knows?
yeah. I guess that's another thing that happened this week is a book came out.
Yeah.
There's a new Stormlight book. I haven't read it. I've read a little bit. I'm choosing to read it with my girlfriend at the same rate we were reading through the whole series because it's really fun to go through the book and do voices and consume it together. And this time, not being aware of what's coming. Makes it even more fun, even if it means we're stopping mid-chapter over and over again to theorize over what just happened, or to comment, and we're like, it's definitely slowing it. It's going to take a while to get through the book this way, but I don't want to read ahead because this experience with her is delightful.
Yeah. But the book is good. I'm about halfway through now. It came out as we're talking 2 days ago, and it's a 68-hour audiobook, and I'm about halfway through because I'm a freak. And
Sam, if I wasn't restraining myself, I probably would have read the entire thing by now. I do that.
Yeah.
I burn through books.
Yeah, I'm the farthest along out of any of my friends, so I had to talk to my partner. I'm like, can I just say a lot of things out of context? I don't have time to summarize how to get here, but there's a thing I have to talk about, and none of my friends are here yet. And it's fantastic, but none of my friends are here yet, so this will be a surprisingly Brandon Sanderson light episode.
Really quick, though, can I just say, Chapter 4, maybe my favorite wit scene in the entire series so far. I loved it so much.
I don't know it by chapters. It's all blurred together in my brain. Which one is it?
Her and Kaladin, him and Kaladin, flute.
Oh, yeah, flute. The flute is fantastic.
Passions are complete horseshit.
Yeah, and the flute becomes a recurring motif, and it's fantastic.
I thought it might.
Yeah.
But how's your week been besides Stormlight Archive?
So beginning of November, I was like, all right. Holidays are coming up. I want to make crafty presents for my people. And the craft that I'm good at and I enjoy the most is cross stitch. And so I got started on Andy's cross stitch. He's in the other room, so I'm not going to say what it was because he might hear me. But it was complicated, and it took me about a month to do. But I was like, the ones for my partner and for Summer are not complicated at all. Like huge, big blocks of color, not full coverage, nothing like that. No fancy gradients or dithering like Andy's had. So those won't take me that long. But then my stupid ADHD brain was like, okay, cool. So we don't have to work on it as hard.
Oh.
So I hadn't been working on it for like a week and a half or so. And so I picked it back up to try and finish it. And I've been working like crazy the last like 2 or 3 days, and I'm only about halfway through with the one for my partner, and I haven't started the one for Summer. And I'm like, I don't know if I can finish all of this in 2 weeks. Christmas is in 2 freaking weeks. So I've been doing a lot of cross stitch and listening to Brandon Sanderson, and a couple other things that I want to bring up a little bit in the post show, but maybe save for some game of the year sort of shit. So put a pin in that.
That'll be fun.
Yeah. As a spoiler for those in the know, it's Infinity Nikki. It came out on Thursday, and it's very, 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 very good.
I saw something about that I can't remember, but it just stuck out of my brain. I was like, that sounds weird as hell in a fun way.
Yeah, I will be pitching to Trish why she should play it in the post show.
Ooh, fun!
If you want to hear all of that, you can head on over to the Ko-fi and drop us some dollars and get the link to the bonus show. But for now, we're going to do the regular show. And the regular show, I of course mean Mordecai and Rigby. Take it away, fellas. No, we'll be doing, we'll be talking about the ending of Legend of Legaia just after this.
Last time, we took out the final mist generator, and with it, Prince Court. The threat's gone. Our big bad is dead. But, you know, no one wants to go see her parents. Obviously, that's the only reason the game hasn't ended for us yet.
Yeah, surely nothing bad will happen. Let me take a big drink of this water.
So we just walk on over to Conkram and find the giant clamshell is shut. There's no way into the city, and as Noah frantically tries to find any way to bypass this stupid shell, Ozma speaks up and explains the terrible truth. When the mist went away, it killed the Simsaver that was engulfing the town, which also killed everyone who was bonded to it. Noah starts asking Terra how she could have hidden this from her, but Gala is like, oh, well, clearly all the people inside knew, and they asked us for this when they asked us for help and did what they could for us. So it isn't really our raw Sarah's fault. But Noah isn't hearing that, and she falls to the ground sobbing, begging for her parents to come back to her.
And then it starts raining.
Yes, and it starts raining. Yeah. Fade to black. Time skip. The world's saved. Everyone knows it was our humble heroes who did it. And at the moment, they're all chilling in Rim Elm. Vaughn is trying to sleep in, something I think he absolutely deserves after saving the storming world, but his little sister disagrees, and as anyone with a little sibling knows, their opinion is the only relevant one in that situation.
Absolutely.
Forced out of bed, you can walk around town and talk to everyone. May is working on earning a living through making and selling clothes, but if you tell her you came by because you were thinking of her, she accuses Vaughn of thinking about Noah more than her, only to quickly laugh and say she likes Noah a lot too. I'm gonna put that in my pocket. Anyway,
surely 2024 won't turn out to be the year we played 3 thruple games.
Were they all this year?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god. Anyway, they share a moment. May gets all blushy. Vaughn maybe kisses her or maybe puts his hand on her shoulder. It's kind of unclear. It's just scene framing, but these characters are kind of bulky polygons and then if you talk to her mom Maya, she asks how Songi is doing, and you are left to decide how you want to answer that through a series of dialogue options. Good luck.
Yeah, my favorite one is, I mean, technically he's healthy.
Yeah, mine too. It's very good. Gala is by the town's Genesis tree, thinking about how this is where this whole adventure began. It's, in a way, this very tree that brought all of us together, and yet at the same time he's worried. Songi is still out there and still alive, but even Gala has to admit, he's probably just worrying too much. The day's already saved.
How does Gala know? He wasn't here at the tree. He didn't join the game for about 4 hours.
Someone told him. Listen, whenever we're not playing the game, Vaughn is a really chatty bitch.
It's like
Can't get that guy to shut up.
When we were playing as Noah, she was a silent protagonist. And so whenever we're not playing as Vaughn, he's not silent either. That's it.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Looking for Noah, we find her all by herself. Terra hasn't spoken to her since they all left Conkram, and Noah's confused. All of her family's dead, and it feels to her like it's Terra's fault, but she loves Terra. Terra's important to her. But Terra also hid this from her, the fact that Conkram was going to die, and that feels like a betrayal. It hurts. Noah doesn't want to hate her Raw Seru, but it's also hard to even like her right now. And the fact that the bracelet's being silent isn't helping. That's really emotionally complex and difficult. But there's no time to delve into any of that. The difficult conflicts between your core needs and the fickle emotions of your heart, because someone rushes into the scene with some dire news. A stranger has come to Rim Elm, and his name is Songyi.
Oh shit!
Everyone rushes to go see the spiky-haired jerk, and at first, they start what is kind of a civil conversation. Songyi says he's here to congratulate us, but evidently, he's using a new definition of the word, which encompasses, like, planning to kill us all and rule the world.
Mm-hmm.
Juggernaut survived what happened in the Absolute Fortress, and now it's bonded to what's left of Court. Songi brings in the beast, and then it has it do to Rim Elm what that big clamshell thing did to Conkram, engulfing the city and feeding off its inhabitants. Our heroes...
No, it's Chekhov. It's Chekhov's Juggernaut from last week. Who could have thunk it?
Who could have thunk it? Our heroes are only spared because of their Raw Seru, but they are left barred from doing anything further about it, thanks to another force field from Songi. He gloats, because of course he does, before explaining that he's also going to go conquer the world of Seru-Kai, all while Juggernaut slowly spreads to take over the entire human world. He portals away, and we're left facing this monumental challenge. If he truly does take over the world of the Seru, then that is it. It's game over. The only way to follow him there is through Urumas, so we go there. Now, you might remember Juggernaut blowing an enormous hole into those ruins earlier in the game, and you might feel like that puts a damper on our plans, but worry not. Ozma explains that the building may be half rubble, but the words of Teague live forever, as does Teague himself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Teague is not dead. He lives in the hearts of men.
I'm glad that you have a thing for, like, you were able to bring in that Stormlight reference, because I just hear this and I go, okay, sure game. I hear you, yeah. So everyone climbs the ruined ruin and holds their hands, and they talk about how God's not dead, he's surely alive, and that opens a portal to the Seru-Kai. As our party moves in through the space between worlds, the Raw Seru explain, honestly, a bunch of stuff we already know. It's just going over exposition about Rogue and the Raw Seru and humans who are using Seru wrong and yada 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 yada. But more importantly, Noah notices that this is sounding kind of like a goodbye and pleads with Terra not to go, but Terra says, Noah, don't be silly. Long ago I made you a promise, right? I promised this old wolf would stick with you no matter what. That's what we agreed, right? Foreshadowing is a literary device where... Turns out, Seru-Kai is like a blue void where you walk on these transparent hexagons. There's honestly not a lot to say.
It's the final dungeon of a JRPG. It has to take place in a weird JRPG no space where you're walking on things that break physics. Every JRPG has to end this way. It's a rule.
It's a rule?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, I have seen this before. It's just, I don't know. I feel like usually there's something there for me. This time I'm just like, okay. This is the incomprehensible world of Seru-Kai, I guess. You follow a long hallway to reach the Great Genesis Tree, which is currently covered in a Sim-Seru which is sapping its strength, and Songi's there making it worse. Our jewelry buddies explain that if the tree dies, so too does all Seru-Kai, and with it, all the Raw Seru. We approach the jerk, who's slurping up that tree juice with a big straw, and ask him, like, why? Why is he doing any of this? He replies with a lot of words, and a bunch of it is confusing shit. First, he exposits that he took a Raw Seru egg from that tree like 7 episodes ago, and then it got turned into a Sim Seru, and that's why he's so powerful. And then he throws in something about, like, him following the Byron Monastery's teachings better than Gala, because Gala's relying on a Sim Seru, but, like, Sim Seru don't count for him, I guess? Whatever. Songi says he's gonna become the second Teague, he turns into a big monster form, and we fight. Now, Songi's actually kind of interesting as a boss, because his big fuck you attacks aren't actually the problem. They're the same as the last 8 bosses' big fuck you attacks. They will hurt.
I wish he would use the big fuck you attack every turn. Instead.
Yes, the problem is his normal chains of physical moves as he, fighting games you. Because if your character doesn't block enough of them, he will probably take you from full health to 0. Absolutely. It is brutal. Otherwise, not that special. Just wear the dude down. Oh, I almost forgot. He does have a move that is called Genocidal Cannon, which, like, what the fuck? I'm torn between saying that that's really metal and saying, like, maybe that's a word you should avoid, game. Anyway, we beat him, and when that happens, Songi Simseru dies, and without it, he goes pale, collapsing to the ground in agony, because it turns out, if you're in the world of Serukai, and you're just a human with no Seru, you die. Oh, no, wait, sorry, I misread that. You don't just die. You vaporize into nothingness.
Yep.
Gala wants to help, and Songi wants to be helped, but there's nothing that can be done. Cursing how useless the Seiru are, Songi dies. Womp womp. But bad news, everyone. Songi did his job a little too well before he got wombo comboed. The Great Genesis Tree is full on dying, and without it, again, the heroes Raw Seiru are going to fade away into nothingness. Our heroes start praying at the tree anyway, because, like, that's what we do. And what do you know? Hari shows up. Remember him? The three babies who are one entity who could see past, present, and future, and told us that we'd meet him again in an unexpected place? Well, this is the place!
Oh, hey. It's Chekhov's Hari.
He helps us stabilize the tree, but it's only a temporary solution. The tree is fated to die, and with it, all the Raw Seiru. Hari fades away into nothing, and then we take off back to the human world so we can stop Juggernaut with what little time we have left. Now, this is the point in the game where you can go and, like, you know, just really get all the secrets, plumb this game for its depths, do the grinding, whatever you want. I didn't do any of that.
No, me neither.
I did look up some stuff you can do that with that, but I didn't do it.
Yeah.
As you approach the transmorgified Rim Elm, Vaughn stops, and for once his silence is like carrying an emotion. Noah and Gala check up on him.
It's really cool. It's because his silence is a text box, but not in the way that they've said it the whole time, where it's like parentheses silence. There's no text box, and it just waits until you, the player, are ready to hit OK. It'll just stay right there on the silence until you press the X button, and that's really cool.
It's really cool. Noah and Gala check up on him and can tell that seeing what was done to his home, knowing what has been done to all who live there, is eating away at him. If what happened at Conkram happens again, then everyone here will die. But Noah and Gala are by his side, just like he was there for them for all of their toughest moments, and together they all approach so they can finish this once and for all. And honestly, it's a really good moment.
Mm-hmm.
They use their Raw Seiru together and force open Juggernaut's maw so we can climb in. Thus begins the final dungeon, and it's very cool and very gross. Sadly, most of it's not really worth talking about. It's just a big dungeon. There's not a lot of story things in it. But as you do descend further and further, you do find an area that's like this enormous pit with platforms, and some of them are only rise up as you approach them, so finding out how you get from one spot of it to another is kind of trial and error. And in this area, you find the people of Rim Elm who've been assimilated into Juggernaut. And you can talk to them. May is scared when you talk to her, and she asks Vaughn not to look at her, thinking she must look horrible. But Noah says actually she's very pretty, like she always is. I'm gonna put another pin in that. So, we head in further, only for our heroes to realize that they're in, like, a vein or a capillary of something. Like, this whole dungeon's a giant squishy body, after all. And a bunch of fluids start going through it, and it pushes them all towards a giant pit. They form a chain dangling off, hanging onto each other, with only Gala's grip keeping them from falling. They can only hold on for so long, and soon they all drop. This puts them into a chamber with a big fleshy sack that is suspended from the middle, and inside of that is Court. Noah approaches, trying to talk her brother into being a human again, but as Court awakens, he just talks about how, like, humans are weak and pathetic, and he gave that up now. He's perfect, and humans are imperfect, and therefore they must be exterminated. Sorry, Noah, it sounds like he's become a Dalek, and more to the point, he doesn't remember who you are. Which, Noah, listen, I get it. You're clinging to literally any scrap of family you have left. But he also literally barely knows you.
Yeah.
You were an infant when you were taken away. You were raised completely apart from each other. He's known you for 5 minutes total. And the same's basically true for you.
Yeah, not only has he known you for 5 minutes total, in those 5 minutes, you killed him. He is not your family.
Yeah. Anyway, he turns into a big monster, and we gotta fight him. And that fight is Saki was harder, I gotta say.
Yeah.
However, I will give him some credit for naming one of his moves Final Crisis. I gotta love it when a Grant Morrison reference slips in. And yes, I'm aware the comic came out 15 years or so after this game. Shut up.
I was about to believe you.
And even more to his credit, he has a move called Doomsday, which has an incredible visual where one planet is pulled into crashing into another. It's very Dragon Ball Z.
It's very good.
But the real thing here is, and he might have been a lot harder, but I haven't used my point card all game, as I've mentioned in previous episodes, and it had 30,000 points on it. So I just used it 3 times, and that was half of his health.
Beautiful.
The greatest evil in the world of Legaia, and I defeated it with the power of shopping.
That's wonderful. So when I got to court, the dungeon was really, really long, and it has a point of no return in it. So I was like, there's going to be somewhere here in Rim Elm a fake inn where we can rest and restore our MP, right? Maybe it's right through this door. But what was through that door was now the final boss. And so so I had 1 orb left on Gala. I had nothing left on Vaughn, and I had a lot of MP on Noah because Noah doesn't need it. But also, I don't know if this happened for you, but in this final dungeon, Gala had a late start, but he showed up. He now is the fastest, even faster than Noah, which is insane. We used to rely on him going last, and now he goes fucking first. And his miracle art was doing about 3,500. Noah's still does about 5,000, but Vaughn's is only at like 2,500. So Gala suddenly became the fighter in this one, and it was weird. But I was save scumming like crazy because the Doomsday attack is not the fuck you move that is big and telegraphed, but he can use it whenever he wants, and that includes he telegraphs he's going to do his big fuck you move. So I guard all the next turn, and then uses
and then after that
immediately. And so
he did that to me too.
Yeah, it was rough. I absolutely save scummed, but I felt really, really cool and smart for getting to the end with nothing. Like I was, if I was good at the game and it got lucky, there is a world in which I could have done this first try by figuring everything out, even though I was in such a shitty JRPG spiral. So it was a lot more fun than Songi's was, but because it was so hard, but I had a lot of fun doing it. It was very surprising that Gala became my physical attacker here in the literal 11th hour of this game.
Yeah, that didn't happen with me. I don't think I got to a high enough level. I never hit a point where Gala could use his miracle art. He didn't have a high... I mean, he could have if I'd given him a Fury boost, but So, funny thing, I didn't realize how good Fury boosts were until literally like 2 episodes ago, and I'd been selling every single Fury boost I got the entire game, because I wanted the money for equipment. Because equipment in this game is so expensive, and you never have enough money, especially to the end of the game, where it's like every piece of like the highest equipment is like 60,000 gold.
I never had that issue. I
did.
And you're sure you're playing on the restored progression pack?
Yes, I am. And what's wild is that I had that thing, and then the last dungeon, we didn't bring this up, but between Serukai and this last dungeon, the game just gives you a bunch of new equipment that's better than anything you could buy. And it just left me feel like I spent all that money for nothing. Anyway, Court gets defeated.
Speaking of me being a higher level than you and Fury Boost, at the level that I'm at, Noah has Spirit is basically only defend now. She does not gain any ATB when she uses Spirit. She has
Yeah.
max all the time. So it's Miracle
Yes,
Art
I had that too.
every single turn.
Oh, her gauge was never high enough. Sorry, I still had to use that to extend her gauge to where she could Miracle Art. But I
Yeah,
could imagine I
she
only
got her
need
ass
a couple
kicked enough.
levels for her to get to there.
Yeah, she got her ass kicked enough where, and I have the extra AP thing on her. So if she gets attacked that turn, she gets about 50 back. And because I have the one that halves the AP costs, I only need 49 to do her Miracle Art. So I could do it practically every turn.
Mm-hmm. Well, we defeat Cord. Noah's very sad, and the Raw Seru have some bad news. Serukai is fading. It's about to die, and because of that, so are they. The age of the Sera... The era of the Seru is over, and it's humanity's time now. Which is a funny thing to say, to be honest, because it feels like, at most, the Seru were kind of just tools this whole story. They were being used by crappy humans to make things worse than they would have been able to without them, but, whatever. Before Meta and Terra and Ozma can go quietly into that sweet night, they use up all their remaining energy for one last gift, dissolving the Simseru City thing without killing any of the people inside of it. Our heroes cry over losing their jewelry pals, and then we get a cutscene of Rim Elm being saved, May being focused on as all the people are freed from their connection to that evil Seru. And it's time for another time skip.
Mm-hmm.
Vaughn is getting ready to go out on another journey, saying goodbye to his father and his little sister when Dr. Usha arrives. Apparently he wants to write a story about everything that happened, but he notices Vaughn is about to leave, so all he asks is, why is Vaughn leaving? And you, as the player, have the ability to answer that. And your choice kind of matters. Like, there is some difference depending on what you do here. Your options are to thank all the people that helped me, to explore a mystery world, to tell Noah how I really feel, or to train at the Byron Monastery. Now, I did the Noah one first and then reloaded to do the thanking people one, just to quickly check out some of the differences. I didn't go through the entire ending of this game 4 times. Either way, a bunch of the characters we met throughout the game are all in Rim Elm, so they're all in one spot for us to talk to, because once we leave the town, that's the end of the game. Mm-hmm. Except for Noah and Gala. They are not here. Noah apparently left the city with a baby, who it turns out is Court reborn as an infant, and she's going to go raise him, which... Okay. And then Gala went back to Byron, because of course he did. Mm-hmm. Now, if you don't say you're going to confess to Noah, then May gives Vaughn some parting words that are really sweet and romantic, and very like, come back to me, please. But if you do choose that you're going to go confess to Noah, she's at a different spot of the village, and when you talk to her, she's happy for you and Noah, and then confesses that she's going to marry this dude who's like she's standing next to, who I truly did not remember. He's one of the other hunters. And you can choose to be very happy with about it, and if you do that, she offers like for you and Noah and her fiance to have a double wedding. If I had a nickel for every game I've covered on this podcast where there's a 2-girl, 1-guy love triangle-y sort of thing that has polyamorous triad vibes going on, I'd have 3 nickels now, and apparently all in the same year.
Yeah, what a way to earn 15 cents in the year of our Lord 2024.
Right? Anyway, when you leave the when you leave the village, you get a credits scene with little cutaways. Vignettes, thank you. You get the little vignettes. You see Noah visiting that one Genesis tree where Berserker was with her brother. You see Gala training the next generation of monks. We get to see our favorite 2-bit thief being presented with a fish by her boyfriend.
It's the ugliest fish. It's such good graphics. It is this big, ugly chongus of a fish.
Yes. We get a scene of that one place where the Seru bride thing was happening, and it looks like the head guy is actually marrying the girl that Noah took the spot from. Anyway, there's an.
I had no idea what was going on there because I didn't recognize any of these people because they were taken over by Seru.
Yeah,
at that
right.
point. So it was just like, all right, I guess there's a guy and a girl now. somewhere out there doing something, I guess. Whatever. Next scene, please.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. We get an incredible shot of this hot blonde lady who's smoking while leaning leaning on a windowsill, and then the camera pans out. We see its Seoul Tower, and we get a shot of the bustling city thriving now that everything's okay. And then we go from that to just like Usha scientists doing some science and something blows up. Then we get the train, which is operating still, but that's a Seru. I thought it was the era of man now. Regular Seru still work?
They don't. So one of the things you can talk to Dr. Usha about in
I missed this
victory lap is he's like, yeah, the Sorens and the people in Callisto are basically going to be fucked because they don't have Seru anymore. But now that it's the era of man, we've been working on a lot of scientific things. I'm not worried about them. I know that we'll be able to figure stuff out. And so this is a sign that, oh hey, this is a train now, and there's not a dude strapped to the front. If you look, there's a guy on the back of it driving it.
Okay, it just looks exactly the same as the Seru, so I assumed that's okay. And then after that, the last one we get is of the Soren camp, and they all have their wings, and so I was like, what the fuck? But okay, apparently they just found a science way to completely replicate what they lost. Okay.
Yeah. It's
cool.
Kind of a cop out because we wouldn't recognize these people at these graphics levels without their signature Serus, but it's fine.
Yeah. And that's it anyway. That's the end. We get a record screen that tells us how we did, with a lot of little silly things. And then we have a final shot of what looks like 2 flowers growing on top of the grassy remains of Conkram. Mm-hmm. Life finds a way, I guess. That's the end of Legend of Legaia.
That's it. How hilarious were your stats? Because mine were... My Noah had, I think the max damage was around 7 or 8,000, but her KOs were 21. She died 21 times compared to everybody else was less than 10. I was like, yeah, that's a definition of a glass cannon right there. She's always dead.
I am scrolling through because I only sent it. I didn't save it. I just sent it to a person, which means I gotta look and find it. Come on. I didn't pay... Oh, yeah, no, that was 2 days ago. Which is... Yeah. I gave myself more time than I usually do. Okay, yes.
Surprisingly, even though Noah is the glass cannon, apparently Noah couldn't finish off any of the monsters because it's Vaughn, the second fastest, who has double the monsters defeated of everybody else.
I just put mine in. So... actually Gala had the most knockouts on mine at 5. I actually managed to keep Noah alive fairly well. The max damage compared to yours is so much lower. Noah's max damage was just shy of 5,000.
Oh, I see exactly what it is. So we have the same number of battles. And so I was like, how am I such a high level? You have 4 times the number of escapes that I do. And,
yeah, because occasionally I hit a point where I'm like, fuck this, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
I also wasn't playing... I was playing at, I think, 1.25 speed at fastest. I wasn't playing it, like, super fast mode. So I didn't... every battle took time.
Yeah. I think my... unfortunately, if I turn on the thing that tells me how fast it is, the frames per second counter, it slows it down because the SP can only barely play the PS1 games. So I don't know how fast it was, but putting it down to regular resolution, it was about 2.5-ish times as fast. So
okay, yeah,
that does it. But our battles being basically the same number is nuts. I don't know why I'm. All of my people do twice as much damage as yours.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was Legend of Legaia. Let's listen to some music and then talk about our memorable moments.
Hells yeah.
So this was, I feel like, if you had asked me last week what was going to happen at the end of the game, I knew Songi was going to be involved, of course, obviously. Juggernaut probably also involved. Everything that happened this week, I would not have guessed. This was an insane series of twists.
Mm-hmm.
But it was good, like, mostly good. I wish it ruminated a little bit more on, like, the whole thing with Noah and Tara was so interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But it also kind of feel like it was resolved because she died.
Yeah.
They never
bury your wolves and all that.
Exactly, as bury your wolves. Also, Vimke was saying, and I did see this. There are 2 secret fights that we never got to.
Mm-hmm. I was looking into Let's Play earlier to see what I missed, and not only is it a secret fight I didn't ever do, it also was the fishing mini game I didn't have to do, and you have to do. It's like tied into fishing, and I was like, oh yeah, there's no way in hell I'm doing that one.
Well, let me tell you, at least one of those secret bosses apparently I looked, one of those bosses is extremely hard. Maybe both of them are, but I know one specifically I was hearing where I was looking, which was the LP archive thing, looks absurdly difficult. But if you beat it, you get access to the evil Seru magic spell that the one that summons Juggernaut and hits the person, which is the most powerful spell in the game. And the other one gives you access to, I think it's called like an evil medallion. Mm-hmm. Also, I might be wrong. The fights might not would give you these things, but I just saw these were the things in the post game. You could get a medallion that is an accessory that gives you the berserker condition, or no, the rage condition, which is similar to the berserker condition. But it basically just makes your character completely unpredictable. You do not know what your character who has rage will do.
Mm-hmm.
And they could literally do nothing in a turn. They could just punch a single time, or they could wombo combo and do like 8,000 damage.
Beautiful.
But yeah, what are your memoms on this week?
So you skipped over my second Brandon Sanderson joke at Urumai. So because Teague is dead, right?
Yes.
But Teague is not dead as long as he lives in the hearts of men. So we have to find the words. We have to say the most important words that a man can say. And so we say those words, and then Teague says these words are accepted. There we go. That's the full Brandon Sanderson section of this podcast today.
Good job.
There's also a point where Songi said he was the ultimate life form, and I'm like, you did it. You know your place in the narrative. You're Shadow the Hedgehog. You understand.
Damn, I don't like Shadow, but I think Shadow's never been as much of an asshole as Songi.
Definitely not.
Songi, I don't know what they're doing with him. I like it? ? But it's like I don't know.
Yeah, I
don't know what emotions I'm supposed to feel about him.
Yeah, I really like villains like him where they're not tied to the main narrative. They're there and they're interacting with it, but they are not necessarily the bad guy, right? Mm-hmm. Like the main shit happening was the people from court were trying to give the world back to the Seiru or whatever so they could rule over it or whatever the fuck. And Songi just wanted to beat Gala. And then at the end he was like, well, I could beat Gala and also rule the world. So I think I'm going to do that. None of that. I'm not helping court. I'm not helping the bad guys. I am here just to fuck shit up because that's who I am as a person. And I like that.
I mean, it's definitely fun. That's the thing is, it's like I don't know what emotions I'm supposed to feel, but the emotions I am feeling are delight. Like, he's such a dick. Vimke compared him to Majin Vegeta, and I think that's actually pretty that is close. But it's like if you mixed. This is a reference. This is a combo I don't think a lot of people will understand or relate to. But it's like if you mixed Majin Vegeta, just Vegeta at his worst. With oh god, what's his name? Black Manta from DC Comics.
Mhm.
Like, what I love about Black Manta is he's a villain who his whole thing is he just hates Aquaman. And that's why he's Aquaman's arch nemesis. Is he hates him and he wants to kill him. And that's, like, Songi's vibe.
Mhm.
There's all this other shit that he's associated with, he joins this group or whatever, but really, he just wants to kick he just wants to kick Gala's ass.
That's it.
And that's it.
Yeah, and what a way to do it if not to kick his ass physically, but to kick his ass emotionally by killing every Byron monk on the planet by
Right.
killing all the humans on the planet.
Right?
Why not?
Why not? It's truly bananas, but in a very fun way.
Mm-hmm. Looking at our things again, I played for 13 more in-game hours than you did. So maybe you had more battles of lower level monsters and I had more battles of high level monsters or something.
That's
I've
entirely possible.
no idea how I output double the damage of you. It's
It also could be the build, like the like accessories I gave my people were shit, and that was also making it worse. I don't know. No clue whatsoever.
But yeah, this game is real good. And
it is.
It's so like you said earlier that the game doesn't elaborate on the Terra and Noah thing, and that's basically the vibe of the whole game. If you suck at subtext, this game is okay. But this game is dripping in subtext and doing so much emotional weight with the parentheses, silence parentheses.
Yes.
And it is doing so much with so little in a really cool way. It reminds me a lot of Super Nintendo games. Like going back to play Chrono Trigger.
100%.
Like playing Chrono Trigger, I was like, oh wow, this is awesome. In my brain, I'm remembering all of the things, but on paper, it's 5 text boxes in every place that you go. All your cutscenes are freakishly short in Chrono Trigger, but it's this big emotional narrative because of all of the in-betweens, and that's how I feel about this game.
That is a really great way of putting it, and now that you've said that, it does have the energy of a Super Nintendo JRPG on a PlayStation.
Yeah.
And I say that with love, because I mean I'm the kind of person, I love the Super Nintendo. It's funny because it's the generation before I was a kid. It's the generation before I was playing video games. I started with a 64, but I went back because the Super Nintendo was easy to emulate on even crappy computers back in the day.
Shout out to Z-SNES.
Z-SNES, I love Z-SNES. It's so good. Shout out to all the people who ROM hacked Super Mario World. Yes, even the person who made Kaizo.
Yeah.
Like, I sank so many hours into emulating those kind of games, and that's, in a way, kind of where my love for RPG... I mean, again, we talked about earlier in the podcast with, like, Paper Mario, in a way, being kind of one of the first RPGs I really sank my teeth into. But it was stuff like emulating Super Nintendo games and emulating, Final Fantasy VI and Chrono Trigger, and, like, being amazed at what I was finding that, like... that really sucked me in. And Legend of Legaia does have that vibe. It has that feeling. It is, like you said, it feels like, oh gosh, yes, I forgot I did see this. Vivkid just posted about how you could also go back and fight Tetsu, the dude who was the tutorial at the start of the game, and he can destroy you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think what you said was a good point about it being a game that lives in subtleties and that leaves in giving you hints of things and leaving you to linger on them. Like, God, going and talking to Noah after the Conkram stuff is just, it really hit me. Because she is this character, we've seen the whole game, she's, childishly naive. She doesn't have a lot of emotional development as a person. She isn't used to interacting with other people. Her whole life, for most of her life, was her and a wolf.
He was raised in a wolf in a box of scraps.
Yeah. And so her having to navigate...
I Sam Almond the fuck out of that reference. I said she wolfed in a cave with a box of scraps.
I heard you, and I thought it was incredible.
But no,
she did wolf in a cave of a box of scraps. So but her having to try to navigate this, like, someone you care about hiding something from you. And, like, maybe if they told you, it wouldn't have had, maybe if Tara told her, it probably wouldn't have had any material difference on what happened. But
Mhm.
we don't know because Tara didn't tell her.
Yeah.
And that is a really, even just for an adult in real life, navigating spaces like that where someone you really trust does something because they think they know what's best for you, and it just feels like such a betrayal. It's a really fascinating space to play in, but with a character like Noah who doesn't have the, like, she doesn't know what to do with it, and she states
Mhm.
it also plainly, that it hits in a really different way that I really love. It's really crunchy.
Yeah. I I like this a whole damn lot. Like I now am one Arc the Lad away from having all of my favorite RPGs on the PlayStation being the Sony first party JRPGs. Um, but yeah, this one, like, in Legend of Dragoon, it has a lot of anime bullshit and a lot of feelings, and it voices both of those things. This one has anime bullshit off screen, and it doesn't care about the lore, and it cares about the characters, but also the character development is in between text boxes. It's kind of opposite of Legend of Dragoon in a really cool way, and I like it a lot. I also really like the the creator in that interview I read back in episode 1, he said that he didn't want betrayal to be a theme in the whole game. He didn't want anybody to actually betray anybody because that's a narrative cop out, he says. And it kind of ruled. I like going
Yeah.
in knowing that, like, through thick and thin, we're the three best friends that anybody could have is kind of awesome. And it was so delightful that, like, we already had a Songi. We didn't need a party member to betray us. We already have family drama outside of it, but our three party members are our three party members, and that ruled.
And I think it's so fascinating that last week, I talked a little bit about, like, a small complaint I had of the game, of how I felt like Vaughn just came off so comparatively weak compared to Noah and Gala because he was the silent protagonist. And then this week was just like, oh, you were we thought you might be feeling that way. We're gonna give Vaughn a little moment here that just,
Yeah,
like, really sells something kind of beautiful. I love it.
yeah.
This game is really good. It surprised me in a lot of ways.
Hmm.
It it I don't think it came as naturally to me as it might have to you, but I've grown to really care for this game, and I'm so glad I
Hmm.
played it.
Yeah. Now imagine if every boss was twice as hard and the all of the stuff cost twice as much.
I hate that. I don't
Yeah.
want to imagine that.
Yeah, this is definitely a game that I recommend if you play the restored progression patch or you play the European version. I shout outs to Vimk for liking this game on the PlayStation because that sounds like torture. I definitely could not imagine this game being twice as hard. But yeah,
Because it sure
it,
wasn't easy.
it was not easy. But yeah, anything else you want to say about Legend of Legaia before we wrap it up?
No, I don't think I have anything.
All right. So, before I get into the shoe leather at the end of the episode, you may have noticed we didn't announce the winner of the poll right now. That's because we have three we have 3 weeks of special episodes that we're doing before we start the next season. So in uh 2 weeks will be the Christmas special, which will be when we announce what we're playing next. So you have 2 more weeks to go and vote on the poll over at www.rpgbook.club. So yeah, I wanted to bring that out. We have 3 special episodes. One is going to be our game of the year, one is a Christmas special, and then one is a either a full spoiler cast if Trish and her partner have gotten through it, or a however, up to where Trish is, and I try and forget what happens after that. Spoiler cast for Wind and Truth, because Bernard's not here and he can't tell us no. So that's
The
it.
fool.
But if you would like to listen to me talk about Infinity Nikki and Monster High here in a second, you can also listen to bonus seasons of the show and vote on the poll if you head on over to www.rpgbook.club, where every donation goes to helping out the show. I'm going off book, and that's why I'm stuttering a lot. Pro tip for everyone out there with a speech impediment: if you write down a script for things to say, read it. Don't go off book. It goes poorly for me every time I do that. Anyways, at $1 a month, the Gadabout tier gets access to a bonus feed where we have after shows for every episode, as well as bonus seasons of the show that are backer only. And at $5 a month, the Warrior tier gets the above, but I also say their names at the end of every episode, like this. Shoutouts to Frost Terror, Dragon Slayer 19, Keldronis, Freddy Rodriguez, Ron524, and JFro Prime. And then at $20 a month, the Luminary tier gets all of the above, plus a one-sentence shout-out to whatever they're passionate about. Shoutouts to El Tantavi, who wants you to check out Aftermath.site, a worker-owned, reader-supported news site covering video games, the internet, and the cultures that surround them. And shoutouts to Vimke, who says, it was soupy white where the atmosphere was pumped in thickest, and thin and navy where it wasn't. And it's Claire Time says, for you TTRPG nerds out there, check out Fabula Ultima. I'm not affiliated with the game, but I just think it's neat. And for RPG Book Club, I have been Sam.
And I'm Trish.
Toodaloo, folks.
Bye-bye.